Hello everyone, and this is my review for WWE Monday Night Raw on February 23rd, 2015, and of course this is the first show right after the Fastlane pay-per-view, and I'll go off and say this was kind of a mixed bag of, just kind of a mixed bag of things of where they were going leading into WrestleMania in the terms of, things I kind of liked, things I kind of didn't like. It's interesting to see how they were working the Randy Orton storyline throughout the entire show. Basically, him coming out initially is like all he wants to do is beat up Seth Rollins. Now he's joining them with the Authority and everything on that aspect. And eventually it looked like he was going to turn again, but decides not to. In this case, on Monday on Raw here during their tag match. All in all, it'll be interesting to see how they work this storyline. Obviously, they're going with a route that it seems like he's kind of becoming a reluctant person of the Authority and working with them. But in the end, he's probably, but in the end, he's going to, eventually turn and just go after Seth Rollins and leading into their match at the leading to a match at WrestleMania there, and in a sense, at least it's something kind of different other than just, Randy Orton wants to go after this guy at this time. At least it's something a little bit different. I'm not too keen on that storyline at this point. Of course, of course, you'll have to see where they decide to go with this to begin with. As well here, they still got about 5 weeks before WrestleMania, so we'll see how they continue building this storyline. But this is definitely how they decided to start this one off. I don't think it was necessarily a good start, but it's a start nonetheless. Throughout the night, and honestly, I kind of like this. The fact that they are doing the whole Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal again. The reason why I like this is because it gives a bunch of those guys a spot and actually gives them a match on the actual pay-per-view card. And of course, I like the actual little segments that they put in there. Announcing a few of the people that were going to be in the match at this point. At this point in time, you had Miz and Miz down in the back. I liked how they're still playing the dissension between the two of them, still waiting for the full turn and breakup of that quote unquote team. Of course, you also had Curtis Axel and Ryback in there, cutting their own little promos in there. This was something I actually liked about about it. You don't necessarily need a full storyline or a full hatred towards two people leading into this match. It's just a bunch of guys trying to garner up the importance of this battle royal and how they feel about going in there and how this is potentially their WrestleMania moment or something in that sense. And I actually kind of like how they build this. They built the match last year. We'll see if they can either do a similar build or take it in a different route and see a different kind of build into it this year. We'll see where they actually go with it. Again. And I like I said before, I'm kind of glad they are bringing this particular match back into the WrestleMania pay-per-view because it gives a bunch of guys a chance to be out there in front of the crowd on the actual show. So that's always one of those good things on that on that aspect. The whole Dean Ambrose Wade Barrett storyline obviously took a turn. Even though it's injecting Dolph Ziggler in there, and I know a lot of people are big fans of Dolph Ziggler, and he's widely popular, and definitely needs a few going into WrestleMania, I would say this takes it as a turn for the worse. It looks like they're building up for a fatal four-way, which, could be a very entertaining fatal four-way to begin with. Obviously, you had R-Truth down there because they're playing off of the aspect that he got a win over Wade Barrett. You're playing off the aspect as well with Dean Ambrose stealing the Intercontinental title from Wade Barrett from the night before, and still going on with that storyline. Now they're interjecting Dolph Ziggler because he won his match tonight with Wade Barrett, or Bad News Barrett in this case. I don't necessarily like the initial start to this storyline, but the match itself should be a lot of fun if they decide to go with the fatal four-way route in this case. And in all honesty, it's probably probably in the end it's probably going to be one of the better matches, or at least a lot of fun to watch at this point in time. So we'll see where they go with it. But I didn't necessarily like to start with this one. They are continuing on with Nikki or the Bellas and Paige storyline. Not much to really say about here because they just did a really quick match and kind of making Paige look really bad in this case. Not necessarily burying, but just making her look bad in this case, or almost kind of putting her in an embarrassing role again because of how short the match was. So we'll see if they're actually continuing this storyline, but who knows where they're going to actually go with it, leading into either a WrestleMania feud, or if they're going to lead into it just being kind of a Raw feud for the time being. So we'll also see where they go with that, but again, nothing much to say about it. Nothing really good, but nothing really good to say about it. Pretty much all bad in this case on how they've been treating this storyline. So it is what it is with the women's division, unfortunately. You also now don't get me wrong, there were parts of Raw that I thoroughly enjoyed. I liked the look back on Sting. That promo package, a look back on what Sting had done in WCW, is definitely a good thing for people who had never seen him before in any way. Some people had never watched WCW and had never seen Sting. Some people have only watched WWE or WWF, and they haven't seen what Sting has done not only in WCW but in TNA and everything on that aspect. So having a retro look back at what Sting has done and having the other superstars talk about it was definitely a really good way of going and getting people introduced to who Sting was, who have never seen him do anything leading up into his match with Triple H at WrestleMania. So that was definitely one good aspect of Raw. Another good aspect of Raw was the Paul Heyman promo, and actually the whole promo in general around dealing with Roman Reigns and dealing with Daniel Bryan and Paul Heyman. I thoroughly enjoyed this promo, not necessarily on Roman Reigns' side, but Daniel Bryan and Paul Heyman really did a good job of putting Roman Reigns over in this case, and just kind of building him up to his leading into his match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So they did a relatively good job in the promo. I also like the tag match at the end of the show with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns going up against Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. Fun, entertaining match. Again, that also played off of the whole aspect of Randy Orton kind of not being with the Authority, but kind of being with them at this point in time. Again, we'll see how they build Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Obviously, they're not going to have much interaction with each other because of how Brock's contract is. So we'll have to see how they can continue this going on with the promos. Can Roman Reigns deliver a relatively good one at any point in time to make it even further believable that he can potentially beat Brock Lesnar? So we'll see where they actually go with this in the future for what they need to do. The Cena Rusev promo was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, Cena basically going out there and putting up the importance of not only beating Rusev, but gaining back the United States Championship. He's really putting over this title at this point in time, and it is just it's a fresh thing to look at, because outside of the WWE World Heavyweight title, most of these titles don't really garner the importance of winning them by almost most of the superstars. It's kind of like, oh, I just want that title. Cena in his promo not only put over his importance of beating Rusev and trying to gain back what he had lost from the night before, but gaining and winning the United States title and bringing it to where he feels it needs to be. So I definitely liked where they're going with the storyline. I like the whole aspect of that they're going along with that. Rusev's playing the whole Cena's not worthy of having a rematch, so they're leading into another match into WrestleMania, so we'll see how they go along with it. But this was a relatively good start towards a WrestleMania match with Rusev and John Cena. I actually did thoroughly enjoy this segment of the show. Again, I enjoyed the segment with Bray Wyatt talking and cutting his promo about The Undertaker and challenging him to the match at WrestleMania. I've been a relatively big fan of Bray Wyatt's, and for the most part, it's basically based off a promo. He does deliver a not relatively good, but a relatively great promo almost on every occasion. Yes, they can be kind of confusing and hard to follow at times, but if you grasp the concept of what he's going after for every single promo, they come off really well. There's been a few of them that were really hard to follow, but for the most part, he's gotten a lot better with it, and he just portrays that whole aspect of creepiness in trying to install fear into other people and everything on that aspect. I like where they're going with Bray Wyatt, and I like the aspect that he's going off with The Undertaker. And we'll see when Undertaker actually makes his return, and actually, they can fully go on with the face-to-face interactions between the two of them. All in all, that was a relatively good start. You also had the match with the Usos and Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. They were having their rematch from the night before. Relatively good match again, but again, not much really with the storyline here. Mainly, again, the storyline is based around Natalya and Naomi, while those guys are just having the matches. Again, not really much to talk about on that aspect. We'll see if they continue this feud, or if it just leads into Naomi and Natalya having some kind of feud, and they're kind of done and over with. But I feel like they're still going to try to milk at least another match or two out of this one. Overall, like I said before, this was kind of a mixed bag Raw. There was some good, some bad, some good starts to the WrestleMania feuds, some relatively bad ones, in my personal opinion. But they, like I said, they still got about 5 weeks going into WrestleMania. So if you have any kind of hopes or anything, the only real oversight that they've been going with so far is that right now, technically, Daniel Bryan doesn't have a feud going into WrestleMania, and that, for one of your more popular guys, that's not a good thing. It's really bad that you don't have a full-on feud kind of set in stone for this guy leading into WrestleMania. I know you weren't going to put him in the main event this year, but you need to have something kind of set for this guy. Being one of your more over guys, that would just kind of make that crowd even worse off if he's not a part of this show in some way, shape, or form. Though, they're going to put him in the show. It's just, what's his feud going to be? What's his storyline going to be? Nothing's out there yet at this point. He can't feud with Roman Reigns because he's going to be having the main event. The Authority people have their matches going on. And there doesn't seem to be a relatively big match that they can put Daniel Bryan in at this point. So we'll see see if they can get something started with him. More likely they will. They have to, in all honesty. And again, like I said, this week's Raw was kind of a mixed bag. Some good starts to the WrestleMania feuds, some relatively bad ones. And overall, I thought the show was, like I said, just a mixed bag. It had good, but it also had a lot of bad in it as well this week. So that's my review this week for WWE Monday Night Raw, and I thank you guys for watching.